Here we
So
go.
to find out, everyone just talks slow.
We appear to be on.
Right.
Very funny.
It's so good to move back to natural at number.
Another message from our sponsors.
Have you ever wished you were in a different country? Right now, so do I. NordVPN can't get me there, so I'll have to ring a travel agent instead. But NordVPN can actually make me pretend for a moment that I do live in Upper Paraguay. Why Upper Paraguay? I don't know. I was reaching for the first country I could think of. In other news, welcome to the stream.
Lower Paraguay. I just thought they were Paraguay, to be honest.
It may be. I was rubbish at geography. Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. So, I just want to make sure before we start, everybody who wants to be has got Sirenscape tinkling in their ear, I take it. That sounded wrong, the way I just said that, but I'm not going to take that away now because it's already out there on record. So,
Oh my.
let's confirm everybody who wants Sirenscape is able to hear it.
Yar.
And everybody who's logged in is logged in and they can see stuff. Awesome. Right then, well, in that case, let's deactivate the generic deck sounds and turn off our intro theme. As we, for a couple of seconds, put things over to our intro video. Excuse us, we'll be back in a few seconds. And live long and prosper to you too, suitable substrate. Welcome to the further misadventures of the USS Navis. Welcome along, of course, to the intrepid crew. Thank you for joining us, folks. Let's just stick a few things back on.
But we're the Akira crew.
With a better crew.
Better, stronger, faster. Well, yeah, okay, never mind. Welcome, folks. We are down our chief medical officer tonight. As it turns out, it's his birthday, so happy birthday, Gareth. If you're watching. If you are watching on your birthday, then why aren't you here? Leaving that slightly passive-aggressive note aside, we may or may not have our chief science officer as well. We will see how the night goes on. But in the meantime, we have got everybody else. Welcome, welcome. Further discussion was being made as to what further weapon systems could be employed with the crew of the Navis. So far, the idea of the hollow invading, the hollow boarding party. Interesting.
Holographic boarding torpedo.
It's one step from a holographic boarding torpedo to an actual 40k style boarding torpedo, so who knows, we'll make super soldiers of you yet.
Why use real people when I can use holograms?
That's an interesting sentiment coming from the chief engineer.
Holograms and the Tude, Vibers as only friends.
I do think I remember seeing, coming across my, congratulations on another anniversary of the calendar, Doctor. Yes, yes. I think something crawled across my YouTube feed the other day, something about a new class of ship somewhere in either beta or alpha canon. I think it's possibly beta canon of a new Starfleet ship that's made to run entirely on AI, which could never go wrong. In fact, that might very well have been the episode of Lower Decks, if I think about it.
Yeah, yes.
It sounds more like the episodes of Lower Decks, actually.
Yeah, it goes after the Cerritos. I can't remember the whole thing about it.
Not that could ever happen here on the Navis. Cough, hello. Cough.
This is why we put these on torpedoes. We don't have them running in the ship.
We fire them out.
Torpedoes all the ship.
Yeah,
Well,
there is no ship. It's just one big torpedo that we slowly fire small bits of it off into space.
Technically true. It's a large thing containing antimatter explosions that can be fired at a Keval, we need to hide this from Andrews. This is dangerous knowledge.
What was that? Ramming speed, Mr. Keval. We have a bomb on board. Excellent.
Well, talking about ramming speed, how about a long explosive ram?
Oh.
well, the topic of ramming speed of actual collision courses in Star Trek has actually come up a couple of times, thanks to Webby, actually, mentioning.
Yeah, we just don't talk about what happens in Discovery because it's impossible.
But that also brings to mind the event that happened at the end of Star Trek Nemesis, where the Enterprise E basically rammed the Scimitar.
Well,
And
technically
every
the
time-
Scimitar is actually holding position.
So it could be using some kind of inertial damper and thrusters and whatnot to actually hold position. So yeah.
Yes.
Then of course there's also the Jem'Hadar ramming attacks. They could, I suppose, be detonating their warp core when they actually make contact with the other ship to guarantee destruction, so... okay. I may have just talked myself into and out of said corner just then. However, we are not, I am afraid, or at least we shouldn't, be seeing many instances of ramming speed tonight. If we do, then something has...
You're ramming into the planet. I said ramming speed.
Yeah, we need to get these people out of there. We are going to ram them off the planet.
What factor? What, Captain?
Yeah, we're going to shunt the planet so hard that it's going to destabilize its orbit.
Well,
And then
I
they have
completely
to
relate
evacuate.
to this. This fish stew was really tasty.
Yes, let's give everyone a quick summary. I was going all short
Summary?
for a second.
Oh, hello, Shaun.
Last time on Star Trek Navis.
See how long you can do it.
I really
Yeah,
can't.
I'll give you 100 bits if you actually do it.
Well, now I can't because I've just slipped, haven't I? Because you made me laugh. No, I won't be able to maintain Mr. Connery's impression. Hello, Cat. Playing as well.
Now.
Excuse me, invasion by puss. Can I help you?
Oh,
Yeah,
my.
I see. Okay. I must be dreaming.
My autonomous attack triple hasn't turned up yet either, so I'm waiting for her at one point. Just to come
My
and
cat
say
would
that.
like to express an opinion. Something about torpedoes. You want them to
Need
fire
more
torpedoes?
torpedoes.
Yeah. Okay then. Apparently we need to
Clark
fire
could
more
have a cat.
torpedoes.
Mr. Clark could have a cat like Spot, and the cat can just be like, meow, keep pressing the red button. Clark's like, yes, we press button.
Well, just just reminded Shaun to feed the cat. There you go. My cat, via the Psychic Cat Network, received orders from Shaun's cat to remind him to feed it. There we go. That's what was actually coming up. Wow, you couldn't have timed that better. You couldn't write these things. Okay, yes, as has been noted, there is a situation on Corsero 6b, a moon that has, for the most part, been evacuated, but there's one small village called Greenpoint Cove who are apparently refusing to evacuate. Starfleet are evacuating all personnel that could be in the path of incoming Klingon attacks. So they are trying to use anyone and everyone they can, including the Navis, to try and evacuate people from these trouble spots. And have been mostly successful. However, the Navis has been asked to try and see why these particular people in Greenpoint Cove are refusing to leave. Now, at the moment, they seem perfectly fine with staying here and keep dismissing any and all attempts to underline the danger that they're putting themselves in by remaining. Something definitely appears to be afoot, and thanks to a couple of factors, something close to a solution may be on the horizon. Now, the main fixture of Greenpoint Cove is the fact that it is largely a fishing village, with all modern amenities, of course, but nonetheless a village that builds its own little industry on sustainable farming and fishing. And, as it turns out, someone of the crew of the Navis did indeed try the fish stew. And fish stew seemed to have an effect.
There's no effect at all. It's a really nice place to live here. It'd be a really nice place to retire.
What actually tripped the chief medical officer's alarm bells were mostly due to a villager from Greenpoint Cove who was suffering some kind of intestinal inflammation. And it was discovered by Dr. Bertram that there may be some link to an absence of having eaten this particular type of fish. I believe it was described as a greenfin? Yep. Yes. Greenfin fish. A fish local to the moon. This fish apparently had in it a certain protein that has psychoactive properties, which are apparently, according to the doctor, capable of transmitting signals detectable by humanoid synapses, as though the protein were a subspace relay and the brain was a transceiver. However, the doctor was quick to note that the protein within the greenfin is only a medium carrying the signal. So, it remains to be seen.
We were making the Innsmouth jokes.
Yes, there was a lot of fish-related tomfoolery going on. But for the most part, yes, it seems that fish was indeed the main cause. So, one of our last notes sent to us by our chief medical officer was letting Andrews and Captain Ducasse know about what Dr. Bertram has found. So, give me just a second, itchy nose.
So, as soon as Dr. Bertram advises that, Commander Vibers is being requested that he submits to medical evaluation.
Well, let's take ourselves down to Greenpoint Cove in that case, because if that's what's going to go on, then let's change the ambience according to what we expect to find. So back in Greenpoint Cove, let me unpause things. The away team have been furiously trying to question the administrator. His name is Colin Zhou. And he has been the one that the away team have had primary contact with, and he has been the one that Andrews has been pretty much almost pleading with to see sense. And due to the fact that the Navis crew haven't had much of a rest in between all these various different evacuation missions that they've been on recently, I do believe I seem to recall Commander Andrews was starting to lose some of her patience a little bit with the situation.
Andrews, patience. Yeah.
A few moments away from requesting the stun gun and just going to town like a Terminator.
So for the most part, Lieutenant Claude was simply hanging near to his commander because security. Meanwhile, Ensign Edwards was getting a look at the area to try and discern if there was anything maybe anthropologically related to, or even historically related to what might be causing these people to not want to leave their home. Didn't find anything. Let me think, who else went on a bit of a journey? Vibers, of course. Vibers went around scanning to see if these people were in fact hologrammatic recreations of people, but found them to be actual flesh and blood people. And
really disappointing.
Yes, I'm sure. But
well,
a number of
nice
stalls.
Stew, so.
A number of stalls have been selling, or at least giving away their culinary wares, but the most popular by far was the greenfin fish stew, which Vibers did try. So, anything else worth noting? Yes, of course. The Cove's administrator, Joe, has a young daughter who's apparently a betazoid, but she's adopted. Her parents were apparently killed, and
typical betazoid.
I mean, couldn't she at least try and be more original? Well, there we are.
So they didn't come in the flavour of all.
Nope.
Lieutenant Bravo, Chief of Security, was trying to keep a telepathic quote-end-quote eye on things to try and detect anything weird, but was reporting that he was getting something akin to telepathic static, possibly due to the nature of this fish that appears to be getting consumed by a lot of people, but who knows for sure. But I do believe one of the other last things that we did, if I just scroll quickly back through what we were looking at, yeah, there it is, was that Nova was trying to sense whether or not young Jun Zhou was maybe accidentally or intentionally transmitting her own emotions in some fashion. So Nova was attempting to use her own intra-betazoid telepathy, I suppose you could call it, since even betazoid empaths can apparently communicate telepathically with other betazoids. But if I recall, Nova was trying to distract Jun at various points with things, and then started putting in questions to try and unbalance her a little bit to see if outside parties mimicked any kind of perceived imbalance. I think that was it. Shaun, am I on the money there, or did I misrepresent something there?
No, I think it was something like that.
But didn't quite find anything concrete. In a similar fashion to Bravo, Nova experienced something akin to telepathic static, but there's definitely something there.
Yeah, so following on from what Dr. Bertram has now said,
Yes.
is that Andrews is requesting that Commander Vibers is returned to the ship for a medical examination because he has partaken in the fish. And the second one is that we identify telepathic individuals within the community. Obviously, Vulcans have some telepathic ability, Beta Zeds, etc. And then one by systematically go round and assess each of them. Because then if we eliminate the people, then it's something in the area that's transmitting this calm signal rather than the people.
We could also try linking up a few of us to try and counteract or shield certain people, like their leader.
Possibly.
Yep. While you're doing that, Commander, I'll continue my scans just to see what's going on in this.
As soon as he
Settlement.
says
It's
that,
not
is
quite
that
right.
Andrews is just going to go. Andrews to Lutude, beam Commander Vibers directly to sickbay.
Wanders off. See if Lutude can actually catch me.
Right, okay. If you're going to start running away, I'll shoot
No,
you.
I'm not running. I'm wandering.
Can we
Basically.
get a confirmation, sir? You want me to beam just Lieutenant Vibers, Commander Vibers, up to...
Just Commander Vibers directly to sickbay, please. And
very well, sir.
Inform Dr. Bertram that he has a new partaker of the fish. Doctor will know what I mean.
I will take your word on that, sir. You partake of the... Oh, heck, they left it open.
I wonder if the transporter could be modified to remove traces of fish.
Well, Vibers hasn't really had time to hear the intention, so, let's move Vibers to sickbay, shall we? So, where'd Vibers go? Let me grab his, there he is. Whoop. Bah!
Doctor,
Let
I
me
think
change the
Andrews
ambience.
is definitely going crazy. She's completely out of order.
I like it. Sickbay. Well, sadly, Gareth isn't here to actually reply with anything clever there, so, we're
I
going
was half expecting him to offer him some fish.
Would you like to try some fish?
I was having a nice little wander, and the commander just orders me back here for some crazy reason. I think she's trying to stay on the planet for something. She's trying to get everyone else gone, so obviously there's something wrong going on there.
Bertram goes, I see, Commander. So you think that Commander Andrews is being adversely affected by the situation down on the planet?
Yes.
In which case, since you've already been on the planet, I need to scan you too.
Sounds reasonable.
I am
Let's get
assuming.
it over with.
I am assuming. I am definitely assuming that Lutude has told Bertram that that Vibers has partaken in the fish, and
Yes.
like Lutude hasn't actually just beamed him up.
I'm assuming as well that Lutude has also just told, and Bertram is just using Vibers' own words against him.
It's bedside manner with an awkward patient.
Yeah, the doctor will.
He's
Doctor will probably
trained
ask
for
you.
this shit.
He'll probably ask him of what do you feel of the.
How do you feel about smuggling? I don't like it.
I know. How do you feel about?
Right.
How do you feel about Moss?
Moss? Oh, Moss is... Oh, fuck. Oh, sorry. What was the question again, Doc?
So, yes, Dr. Bertram doesn't need sedatives. He just tells them to look over at that panel there and tell me what you see. And he just plays back one of the Moss lectures. Instant stupor. Anyway, can I have somebody roll me a check as Dr. Bertram? First, I need to check that somebody can access Dr. Bertram. Shaun, you're already there, so...
Is he in the people's Bertram?
I can open the sheet, but I can't roll for him.
Okay, interesting. Let me
The people's Bertram.
make him the people's doctor. That's interesting.
I
You go
always-
for
I
the
always do
people's,
that.
which suggests
I-
the rock.
I know. My brain always goes to it. I know.
Does it look like we can't see him? Let's stare at the screen. I can't see a thing.
Right then. So, who wants to do a roll as Bertram?
I think Vibers roll against himself.
No.
How about Jan? Jan, you can be Bertram for a minute. And Shaun, how do you fancy being the ship? Actually, Shaun, you might get stuff to do next, actually, considering you're a betazoid.
Yeah.
So how about Alex be the ship?
Okay.
So I'm assuming either biology
Yeah,
or xenobiology will help here.
more than likely biology, but yes, any one of his numerous focuses could probably fit the bill. And this is
Sensors and
gonna
medicine, I
be control and medicine, I do believe, by Bertram, because he knows what he's looking for now. He's not scanning for anything particular. As far as Alex giving the ship sensors and medicine, yes, I totally agree. So the ship is of no help. But, as always, wait a
We need
second.
to get our sensors up, I think.
It's happened again.
You not got any momentum or threat?
I've lost the momentum bit. I had it earlier. That's weird.
Do you have a little red plus at the bottom of your screen because you can minimise it accidentally?
I do not. Give me a second. I'm
Press
gonna...
control and scroll out. Does it suddenly appear?
Oh. Alright, this is gonna be a bit of a delay, and I'm sorry about that, but I really want to know what's going on here. That's twice now in a couple of days. While I was working on stuff earlier, I did actually have everything displaying.
Oh.
Have I just kicked everybody out and brought them back in? There it is.
No,
I can see it again.
I've not been kicked.
No.
Cool. I'm back in, and I can see the momentum pool again.
As I was saying, Doc, it's a really nice planet. It's the sort of place you might want to go to retire to. Nice and calm, sea breeze,
Plenty of moss.
lots of greenery.
So the
Really
doctor,
nice spot.
thanks to Jan's expert rolling there, gets one success over what was needed, and Bertram can confirm that there is the presence of the protein in Vibers' system. Which means that now we have to find a solution. So,
Are you saying it's contaminated, Doc, and we should quarantine the planet?
I can only imagine Bertram at that point would say, you know what, let's go with yes.
Cool, can I
Or
go
words to
back
that
down
effect.
then?
In a minute, in a couple of minutes. Let's try something first. Man's got a hankering for fish. So let's see. Someone can be Nurse Bravo, someone else can be Bertram, and someone else can be the ship. I was going to say the fish.
I thought you were
then.
about to say the fish. Yeah, I was going to say someone could be the fish.
Someone could be the fish biting
Right,
back.
we're now rolling for fish. Fish!
Oh
Right,
dear.
Fish is trout a la creme.
So, Shaun, do you want to be Nurse Bravo? Webby, do you want to be
No.
Bertram? And Alex, you can stay being the ship for now.
Okay.
This time we'll be searching the ship's database, so I think we're going to go with
Computers and medicine.
computers and medicine. Whereas for both Nurse Bravo and Dr. Bertram, let's go with insight and medicine.
That's better.
Biology is a focus.
Yeah. The same goes for Bravo, can use medical diagnostics. Bravo, of course, only rolling 1 dice. So whoever was rolling for Nurse Bravo. I don't remember who I asked. There we are, 1 success, thank you. 1, 2, 3 successes overall. Again, 1 over and above what you needed. Right. It takes a bit of rooting around. This will take a bit of rooting around and checking on medical databases. And while that's happening, I won't say what you found yet.
Is Viber's going to get withdrawal symptoms?
But I am going to take us back down to 3 Point Cove.
Getting the fish sweats now.
Just get random planets just walking up to whatever body of water just with a net going, I need my fish.
We'll get him a
Back
tank
on
in engineering.
Just flood the warp core with water and put some fish in it. Yeah.
The cetacean post. Right. So while all that's going on, Vibers, there's a little indication note from Litude indicating to the away team that Vibers was successfully beamed aboard. While all that's going on board the ship with Bertram and Vibers, back down here on the planet, Colin Joe looks around, checks his watch. Well, if you'd excuse me, these gentlemen, and however any of you identify as, I would, if you would excuse me, I need to make some preparations for the fish fair tonight. The fish fry tonight. It's our little food fair that we put on to gather everybody together with. Get everybody to big communal gathering of us all together. We tend to do it as a celebration once in a while, and I think with visitors here, this should be just such an occasion.
Perhaps
I have to organize it,
with
so
members of your village being ill, it's probably wise to postpone it just in case it's something to do with potentially contaminated foods.
I believe there was only one reported with any kind of stomach cramps, and it was nothing to do with the fish.
But it was stomach cramps.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before infection can spread quite quickly.
Well, that would be interesting, considering it's never happened before, and we are very and knowledgeable with how we actually do cook our fish. But we will take it under advisement. Jun, feel free to go on. Go on, sorry.
Do you have any vegetarians?
Not to my knowledge. It would somewhat defeat the purpose for vegetarians to be here in a fishing village. They are, of course, welcome if they wish to come.
Yeah. Perhaps rather than the fish, then, if it does go ahead, why not try actually having a different variety night? Surely there are other foods here other than the fish that you'd like
we'll
to
be
try
trying something of everything, of course. Everybody here's got their specialties, but as you can imagine, for the most part, with our sustainable farming and sustainable fishing, we like to try a bit of everything.
You know, Andrews is really trying not to do a commander data and just shooting the fish. You know, all the catch of fish that they've got just vaporizing it. We're like, oh no, fish can't be happening.
If you'll excuse me, commanders, officers, John, feel free to go find your friends for a little bit. I'll be working for a little bit, honey. John kind of nods and just walks off. If you'll excuse me. Colin Zhao departs. Now, I realize that this building is supposed to be large enough to actually hold a communal gathering of about 417 colonists, but my wrist ache would have been phenomenal doing that in Dungeon Draft, so you're just going to have to take my word for it that a lot of people can actually fit into this building.
No commitment to the cause.
Yeah, I don't like you that much. RSI is where I draw the line, I'm sorry. So, whilst all this is... during the brief time that you've been talking with everybody here is when you get a message from Dr. Bertram. Now, rather than trying to parrot how Gareth would word this or phrase this, I'll just give you a summary. Nurse Bravo and Dr. Bertram have been coming through records, and they believe they have found something that they can use to actually overcome the protein. And funnily enough, the answer was the solution was actually acquired by yourselves not that long ago. Let's see, where are we?
Please tell me it's not moss.
Thankfully, it is not moss. It is 1 month, 2 months, 3, 4 months. About 5 months ago, or so, give or take, when you were dispatched by Admiral Horatio Ducasse to try and find tardigrades, you entered into a mycelial construct. But in order to get to the root, which was there's some kind of node holding the mycelial construct in what you guys consider as real space, your subspace domain, you needed a special enzyme in order to combat it. That psi-suppressing enzyme could be used, in this instance, according to Dr. Bertram, to suppress the effects of the protein found in the greenfin.
It's going to mean that everyone is going to come out, well, slowly come out of it. But,
before you get much of a chance to debate that any further, over the comm line, that is when you hear... That's the red alert klaxon.
Okay, Admiral, Andrews to Captain Ducasse.
Yes. Bridge adios. And you want... Ducasse here, Commander. A Klingon vessel has just entered the space of the Casero system. It's decloaked, and it seems to be heading this way. So let's take ourselves back to the ship. In fact, let's go first to the Corsero system. A small Hearth-class destroyer has entered the system. Now, back to the bridge. These folks here are currently on an away mission, so we're going to have to remove them to one side. Whoop! Vibers, unfortunately.
Is the ship in range? Is it in weapons range at the moment?
Well, let's see. Who have we got? Nurse Bravo is busy elsewhere. Ensign Natik. Now, yes, I was going to say, Hello could be there, Natik could be on tactical, Keval will still be on Helm, Kirst will be here, and Bravo, the engineer, will be on the engineering post. The ship is not yet in weapons range, but is coming in.
If it's not in weapons range, I would recommend that they drop the shields momentarily to bring some of the away team back. Potentially Claw as the actual tactical officer.
Give me a second. Boom, 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 boom.
And anyone else if they want to go back.
Well, that might be a slight problem. Because the destroyer is now arming its weapons. Hold fire on the surface for the moment, Commander. Let's see if we can deal with this. So we get to try somebody else being at the controls for a change.
Oh, but Mr. Cluck, but everyone's going to get there and be like, there's only one button here, Captain. What do I press?
You press the button.
So, yes, I am looking in the wrong place. It's starships. And Coupe class have 10 guys. Not them. How about these guys? Nope. There we go. So, the Coupe-class destroyer has come in with its shields up. Seems to be on an active course coming in, so the Navis has probably had its shields, I guess, yellow alert up.
Well, if you said
it would have
the
had
alarm
them.
klaxon was red alert,
So yeah, shields would have gone up for as soon as red alert was called.
Either that, or we're that overconfident we don't even bother raising shields now. Like,
It's up to you. What do you think?
as much as I'd like to say with that Die Hard and Gung Ho, I don't think we are.
Right. So, let's see. Ensign cursed on sensors. Can give
So
us.
we'll need the shields for ramming.
Let's have Ensign cursed plus the ship make a check. Who wants to be cursed?
Who wants to be cursed? No, thank you.
I did actually have a thought about ramming, going back to it though. If the ships do actually go to ram, once the shields collide, you can technically fire at point blank, and if you're quick enough, you can bounce through without actually hitting, but still do like a flyby directly through their shields. It'd take an insane pilot, Keval.
Are you saying our pilot is going to thread the needle?
I think he's going to do more than thread the needle on that one.
I think it's more like a bowling ball, isn't it? Or bowls. The game of Olympic bowls, more like, or snooker. Well, we'll see. Ba-bum. So this is going to take a control and science check, aided by the ship's sensors and security. So the ship rolling 1 dice, sensors and security. Whoever wants to be the ship, choose now or forever hold your peace.
Go on, Navis.
Okie dokie.
I'm allowed to roll.
Yes, this once.
So
And
what we're
so-
rolling with security?
Because there's no adult supervision here, so
Sensors and security for the ship, please. 1 dice. And from one ship's cap to another, how about we have Shaun be cursed?
Alrighty.
This will be control and science with focus on sensors.
I'm on the main roll, yeah.
Yes, please. 1 success, 2 successes, and all. Okay. The Kook-class destroyer is on, well, a direct course for the Navis, but it's also, according to Cursed, they're scanning the surface. They're having a good old look. Now, if there's nothing that the Navis is particularly doing, waiting to see what happens, I take it.
I would say that if the ships come in at hostile, is that they would move for defensive position.
Okay, so do you want to
basically-
take the initiative, basically?
I think just position ourselves between them and the planet.
Are we in Federation space at this moment in time?
Ooh, technically yes, because these are Federation citizens that are being evacuated.
Then they have already shown hostility, so we have a right to defend the Federation colony.
Alrighty. So we've basically
that's my
got
thought, but obviously it's up to everyone else as well.
communications can do something, I suppose, but they're not nearly as necessary as tactical. Hello was on ops, so that's power management. The same goes for Bravo, the engineer, who's probably going to be on either power management or shields. So comms aren't really going to do much of anything. Bazanan, of course, has to steer the ship and get it in better positions or more evasive positions. Cursed can use sensors to scan for weaknesses, and of course the captain can do the usual commanding officer type stuff to either aid others or create advantages or the like. So, I'm going to assume before you make any kind of defensive attempt, you want to try and accrue as many advantages as you can. So I would suggest Curse could probably do another sensor scan in order to try and pinpoint a weakness on the Klingon destroyer in order to gain the is it the piercing or the vicious quality? Piercing quality for your phasers. Piercing, I would reckon. So let's have somebody else be cursed. Alex, how do you fancy being cursed?
Give it a go.
Alrighty, so rules, starship rules, position tasks. We are, excuse me, on sensors. Scan for weakness is control and science, with a difficulty of 1, assisted by the ship's sensors and security. Shaun, if you could be sensors and security this time, please.
So Curse using her focus.
Yep.
Control. So control science, isn't it? You say.
Sensors and security, which you did, so that's one success. That's fine. Anything that Curse does is gravy. So control and science, I do believe, yes. 2 successes. Awesome. The ship gains the piercing trait. Oops, I put trait. Piercing. There we go. Next up, I suppose, would be Keval with either an attack run or an evasive maneuver.
I think, seeing as they haven't shot yet, let's do evasion.
Cool. Let's remember how we do evasive maneuver, evasive action. Daring and con from Keval, and it's going to be a difficulty of 1, assisted by the ship's structure and con. Webby, how'd you fancy being the ship?
Yeah. Structure. And do con.
Right.
Guys, we're going to spend the momentum, and we're going to get rid of the threat.
That's pretty sure that's not how it works, but
You did. You allowed the Sunday team to do that too.
they spent determination to avoid to do that kind of thing. It wasn't momentum; it was determinations.
So, I think you mentioned the difficulty was 1.
I did.
So those extra 2 successes I'll
Over and above
apply
what was
to
needed.
precise evasion.
Yep, good choice.
I'm pretty sure Keval is also a Legion of Honor member, so you could get rid of it if you want.
That's a good point.
If you didn't want the complication.
Yes, indeed, there is a Legion of Honor, which Keval could use to gain 2 momentum or ignore a single complication. What you think then, Jan?
Oh, I'm gonna have so much. Well, yeah, sure.
Legion of Honor ignores the complication then. But you do use precise evasion so that nobody suffers any additional... Oh, do we have a science officer?
Yes.
Yay!
For science.
Howdy!
You monster.
We've encountered Klingons!
Off the starboard bow?
Off the port bow, as it turns off. But yeah,
it's
actually
port
no,
bow.
they're on the starboard.
Port left, starboard right.
Very
So yeah,
cool.
double bow.
What, Jim?
If we take this point as... if I can just ping... If we take this facing as the ship's forward facing, then technically the Kuch-class destroyer is slightly off the starboard bow. So
We don't have
that's...
anyone on board called Jim.
We could do.
Not yet.
The tude's first name is Jim. Jim
the Tube.
Jim, is it Jim Gregory or Gregory Jim?
I do. So,
No, it's Natik's human name.
Natik's human name's Jim. Yeah,
Yep.
because no one can pronounce Natik.
that's what it translates to, is Jim. Right, I got you.
Such
Which
a
will...
common name in his
Jim
language.
is short for Natik. Don't you understand?
So, we've used sensors, thanks to Curse, to make it a piercing attack, evasion to make the Navis harder to hit. Do we want Captain Ducasse to use her command ability in order to create an advantage?
Yeah, might as well.
Cool. John, you fully logged into us?
I am.
Cool, you may as well be the captain. What kind of advantage do we want to create?
I think
How are we thinking that maneuverability? Oh, no. Not that we ever need any help in that regard.
we could
this
do like
is-
we did last time and
Which was?
demoralise the enemy crew by just kind of like sending insults out an open comm channel.
Just baiting them constantly.
So, insight and command, maybe?
That seems like a reasonable.
Sending triple noises over the radio wave.
Bombarding them with triple chirps, I see.
Yes. In supporting, yes.
Yep. While unique to commanding officers, actually, it's a two dice task.
Are we thinking tactician as a focus, possibly?
Yeah. Definitely see that. 2 successes, exactly what was needed. Creates an advantage. Let me write it down, or should I say, type it down. Demoralize. And yes, I'm spelling that with an S, not a Z. Yes, I said Z rather than Z.
You monster.
I
Wait,
know.
why is he a monster for using Z rather than Z?
Because he's being correct.
Mm.
Telling the entire world how to spell it properly.
Right,
Oh
so
look, I've just
piercing
lost
is-
all my American viewers.
They knew what they were getting into.
Is the
I
piercing
always
what
something
normally have
fixed
Natala do?
then.
Yeah, piercing was the census operation thing. So this just comes down now, down to now Natik using the onboard ship's weapon systems. So who has had the least amount of rolls? Well, Webby,
John.
I assume you want to be Natik in order to fire the
I
actual
don't
phases.
mind. No.
Do you want to be the ship side of firing the phases then?
But you're
Oh,
actually firing the phasers, they're not
Wait.
being for show.
Natik doesn't know that the priority is torpedoes first. I
Exactly.
think Natik would actually also, because obviously we've never used the experimental phasers. I think Natik would be like, oh, phaser button, I'll press this, without realising that the experimental mode's on.
Wipes all the dust off of it.
Yeah.
Phasers just the tiny little button next
Yeah,
to the big one for torpedoes.
there's a tiny button underneath the console. It's just accidentally brushes his hand against it and he's looking for another button.
It looks like the
No,
reset
this-
buttons, that's why it's never been touched.
No, it's still got the film on it.
That new button takes the film off.
Strip.
Ah, new button smell.
All right. Does John want to be Natik and Webby can be the ship firing weapons? Assuming you want to fire weapons, of course. But this seems to be what we were driving at. So
It is control security, yes.
control security assisted by the ship's weapons and security. Now the distance you're at. We're gonna make this. Now the difficulty is usually 2. I'm gonna make this 3 because of the distance. This also takes 1 power out of the ship. 1 success, 2 successes. Right then. Unfortunately. Now, hang on. Demoralize wouldn't have made it any easier to hit. It was making it so that the Klingons found it harder to hit you. So, yes, unfortunately, looking for the correct button, Natik is trying to decide which of the big red flashing buttons are the correct one to shoot with.
There's only one big red flash.
Fortunately,
So what
that
you're
is
saying
a
is
shot.
he just fired torpedoes.
In fact, no, we've discussed is that the new button, the new button smell on the bottom of the console is the.
So yes, that was a shot that went a bit wide, I am afraid. So
It's a warning shot.
warning shot. There you go.
Deliberate.
So the captain turns around. Excellent warning shot, Nelson. At which point Natik goes, totally deliberate, sir.
Oh,
So now
he's
it's-
learning.
So now we come to the Klingons. Class destroyer. So we're gonna go with a bit of this, followed by a bit of that, for an attack run, which I believe is successful. Which lowers the difficulty that you've raised by about 2, so this becomes difficulty 4 for these guys. Their commanding officer is going to try and create an advantage. Succeeds, so the difficulty has gone from 4 to 3 to 2. So they're going to try a certain something. Which is a successful shot at the Navis. Let's see. Wrong. Which means I didn't get any additional. I got 1 additional success, so the disruptor cannons gain an additional dice, which was just a regular 1, which means 6 successes, which does not penetrate the resistance of the Navis. Alright. So the Klingons
Said
have returned.
resistance is futile.
So, everybody, even though we can't see you, feel free to give me the Star Trek shake. Either by wiggling your actually doing it in your chair, or wiggling your cursor about the place. However you want to do it, because people
Given
can
that
see
I
me, I'll
operate
do it
from a
myself.
rocking chair, my chair is now firmly rocking.
I would like to try and use this as an excuse. This is an excuse to get out of sickbay.
Vibers will find that the restraint field is on.
Do you
it's like
want
you
to
don't
die,
trust me.
Doctor?
That's a threat.
We're in combat, and you're locking your chief engineer down in sickbay. Do you want to die?
Thank you for joining in,
Very
Suitable
good way to
Substrate.
manage it.
I'm pretty confident that at this point, Nurse Bravo will pipe up and say, Engineering Bravo is doing okay at the moment, sir.
So, that does actually leave either Unit Hello
the
or
annoyance of having beta Zeds.
Bravo Engineer to actually recover a bit of power, if you want to.
Hello can assist with power back as well, can't he? On from the opposition.
Yeah, I suppose so. Shaun, if you want to do Hello, and Davis, since he's your engineer, you may as well be Bravo,
This
the
is where
engineer.
Davis is going to deliberately fumble his role now, isn't it? To get complication. Be like, you see, you need 5.
So, power management is going to be either daring or control plus engineering with a difficulty of 2. It's going to be control and engineering from Hello, I would imagine.
Computer control systems.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Probably. He'll be rolling a 1 to assist. 1 dice to assist, rather. And Bravo Engineer would be control and engineering 2, but with electroplasma systems focus. 2 successes, which means No, it was either... What was it? It was difficulty 2? That's shields. Power management was indeed 2. So you got 1 over what was needed, which means you can pile that extra 1 into regaining an extra point of power. So some power returned back to the systems. It's now you guys' go around again. Now that the Klingons have shot, so what would you like to do now? first things first. Do you want sensors to create another advantage for you?
Think it'd be worthwhile.
Cool. John, do you want to take control of Cursed? Since she's Natala's fill-in. And who wants to be the ship this time? Never mind. Natala doesn't need the ship to help her. Sorry, Natala. -1, right?
That's
Yeah.
pretty well.
Cursed doesn't need anyone to help her.
Wasn't even close, that one.
Wasn't even in the same ballpark. Right then, so that's sensors. Shields didn't take a wallop. Do you want the captain to try another create an advantage? Continue what she did before, or do something different? What would you like? Okay, so we'll leave you guys think about that for a second then. Keval. Sorry, go on.
How useful has the advantage been so far? Because,
It depends what you wanted to do. It made it so that originally it was harder for them to hit you, but I just happened to use the,
Would we be better off with an attack pattern rather than a evasive pattern?
entirely possible.
Yeah, I think so. Close the distance down on him.
Cool. So, can we have an attack pattern from the Helm officer? Attack pattern is going to be daring and con with a difficulty of 2, assisted by the ship's weapons and con. Alex, do you fancy being the ship?
And you. Let's see.
Attack pattern, so, yeah, daring and con for Commander Thazanat.
I shall use my Starcross.
Cool. For attempting a task and applying a focus, the character may choose double the focus range. Cool.
Oh, good. So I was looking at it, and I thought we were all cursed again. I was like, wait, what?
No, you're fine. You did fine.
Seeing as we've got loads of momentum, I'll use the momentum as well.
Cool.
Keval.
So
Put a nice scratch on it
you basically turn and burn, which makes the ship judder and shake, meaning that it takes an extra point of power other than it otherwise would have to make this attack turn. So there's a terrific whine that emits from the main engines that just resonates through the entire ship, making everybody pretty much just look around with the sat in their seats, and they're just listening to the whole ship make this very high-pitched whining sound as the ship is thrown into this aggressive turn.
Fibers is now banging on the panels, just like, let me out!
I'm so glad that Edwards is on planet.
You'll never know. You'd never know what happened. I'll
Somewhere
erase
on
the
the side of the
records.
ship, this small piece of rock just slides past, just
Oh, right, that. Yes.
So that's the attack pattern laid in, so the difficulty to hit will be much lower. As a result, does Captain Ducat want to try to create an advantage that will make it easier to hit the enemy, or make it harder for them to hit the Navis, or do something else?
Yeah, I like the idea of her basically doing the hold, fire at the very last minute as they close the distance.
So let's think. Raise an advantage is going to be control, insight, or reason plus command. Which one do you guys think applies here?
In that kind of situation, it sounds like a control situation. Isn't it?
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. I can agree with that. If the captain can give us control and command, 2 dice, difficulty 2 to create an advantage. On the money. Well done, Captain Ducasse. So, that was an advantage to what end again? Remind me.
Attack.
So waiting until we can see the whites of their eyes.
Yeah.
Waiting
Close-range
until
attack.
we buckle their shield from the close proximity.
No consequences?
Stay on target.
They're too close.
Stay on target.
Loosen up.
Stay on target.
We can fire torpedoes rear as well as forwards.
So,
Yeah. See.
I suppose it now falls to Ensign Natik and the ship to do an attack with weapons. So, yeah, fire weapon.
Press both buttons.
Control and security. Who wants to be Natik? Anybody?
It's a tactical problem, Andrews.
All right.
And
you
who
wanna
wants
be
to be
Jim?
the ship? Sorry, what was that, Jan?
Don't you want to be Jim?
Yeah, this is true. I am Jim. Control security.
Control security. Somebody be the ship's. The ship's weapons and security, please. Who hasn't had a chance to shoot something in a while? Shaun, you go.
Alrighty.
Weapons and security for the Navis, please. Let's be another point of power.
Nailed it.
One success, 2 success, 3 successes, 1 over and above what was needed. So, actually, no, more than that, because you reduced it down from the attack pattern, so it was actually 2 becomes 1, becomes 0. So you've gained 3 successes, any number of which can be either, well, one of which could be banked and the other 2 put into damage, or all 3 put into extra damage.
I'm
What
trying
do
to
you want to
remember
do?
now. With the
All damage.
yeah, I think all damage. With
Alright.
the experimental phases, we said it was a 10% chance that it penetrates the shield and 10% chance that it damages the ship, wasn't it? It backfires.
I'll take your word for that. I don't remember
remember what we
actually
put in for it,
specifying
that's
anything in regards to it. But if that's how you want to do it, then roll a D100.
Just looking up, see if I can find it in the Discord.
Which is which? 10 of the 90.
Ship trait, experimental phases. Phases have a 10% chance of bypassing enemy shield. Disadvantage phases have a 20% chance of overcharging and damaging other systems.
Right, so if you manage to get 10 or under, it'll bypass the shields. If you get 80 or over, the bad thing happens.
At which point I get.
Okay, you're fine. Regular phases. Alright then. So, who was being the ship? Shaun. We are going to need phaser arrays being fired and then add an extra 3d6 to them. Woo! And those 3d6 were, one was a 5, one was a 6. That's 2 extra that's 2 extra effects. So that's 14, 15, 16, 17 with 5 effects. What I can tell you is that we haven't had to do this before, so this is cool. Phaser arrays have got a very special quality called spread, which means rather than just one shot, it's actually multiple shots. And the way we calculate this is the Natik attack, yes indeed, with the phases off the ship.
It's the Natik space attack. Oh, someone called him Jim as well.
Very good, I didn't notice. Let me see, 14, 15, 16, that's 17 with piercing ignoring 2 points of resistance. It's actually 16 in total, which takes off the entirety of the shields, leaving 5. And the ship scale is less than that. So, yes, if the first shot wasn't as megalithic as it was, what would have happened was, since there were effects and we do the spread fire with phaser arrays, you'd have scored a second shot that did half the damage of the first shot, and for every other effect after the first effect, which in this case was 4 extra ones, you'd have added 4 onto that, so you'd have ended up doing, what was it, 17 damage the first time, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on the second one. So, yeah. Can you say kaboom?
That's how you overload a phaser.
So what happens when you do that?
And you weren't even in engineering to do it. That's how good Vibers is.
So yes, the Klingon ship takes a full-on spread fire of phasers from the Navis and gets totally obliterated. So back on the bridge, Captain Ducat looks around, looks behind her and says, "Good shot, Ensign. And good piloting, Commander. Well done, everybody. Unfortunately, Ensign Cursed gets a warning and a computer alert from the sensors notifying Ensign Cursed that just as the Klingon ship was going up, they sent out a signal. And according to sensors, the signal was transmitted in the direction of the Klingon Empire.
No, that's fine. We'll just tell them send another ship next. Just line up one by one. One of you might eventually damage us.
So, meanwhile, back in sick bay.
Doc, you need to let me out. We've been in combat. I'm needed.
The doctor agrees and will let you out momentarily after you quickly just look to the left and cough. That's all you need to do. That's it. So Bertram just says all Vibers needs to do is look to the left and cough. As soon as Vibers looks to the left, Bertram gets him with the hypo spray. And
Knew it was going to happen, but
at which point he delivers the psi-suppressing enzyme, and slowly over the course of the next minute or two, Vibers starts to feel the nagging sensation to return to Greek Point Cove start to diminish. And Dr. Bertram and Nurse Bravo, of course, watch his vitals to see the actual protein start breaking down in his system until the point that it dissipates. At which point the restriction field is released, and Commander Vibers is free to leave.
Alright. Probably get the ship checked out. Right, thanks, Doc. See you later.
No problem,
Andrews is still
Commander.
Andrews is still out of line, beaming me off the planet in that short notice. Mutters off, going off distance.
Technically, I didn't. The Tude beamed you up. I just told the Tude to do it. So your busy mate's the one you got to have the nag at.
Back on the planet's
Nah.
surface. So the away team has now been, has probably had open comms listening in to what went on in orbit, and know that a Klingon ship came in, the Klingon ship got destroyed, but the Klingon ship sent a message. But you also got the notice from Dr. Bertram that there's an enzyme now ready to counteract the effects of the protein from the green fin. But the problem, of course, now is how to deliver it.
Well, there's a big fish festival this evening.
Indeed.
Shall we draw support for the fish festival?
So,
Stay.
what are you doing?
Fish
And
is
how are you doing it?
contaminated.
It's
I think
contaminated.
I think this is where we let Natala just go wild as the mother of the ship kind of thing, and just properly organise the gathering to make sure that everyone gets there, and all of the food might be laced with the enzyme.
Right, so you want Natala to help Colin Joe with making sure that everybody attends. And somehow you guys are going to try and slip this enzyme into the food. Cool. How are you going to do that? Talk it out amongst yourselves if you want to. Ideas?
Depends on what the various
First,
dishes.
I'll say find where the kitchen is and just see if we can form some sort of distraction.
Oh, just offer to say that we would like to take part. We'd really like to take, after the conversations with you, we'd really like to take part in it. Can we help with the cooking? You know, you all work exceptionally hard here. We'd like to take part further in supporting this colony.
Let's put you into the main hall then, so that...
In terms of unusual additions to their traditions, in combination with making sure they all try something, might I recommend some kind of introducing them to a different way of preparing their food, which in order to get people involved and make sure everyone attends and shows off things, as part of a competition. So each family show off a way of preparing fish, and everyone tries everyone else's dishes.
Alrighty. Now, this appears to me to be obviously subterfuge, therefore somebody is going to have to sell it. Well, you're not being honest with your intentions, are you? So...
No,
You're trying to mask your true intentions.
Honest with that.
I just need somebody to give me a presence and command check in order to sell Joe on the deception. Nova's like, nope.
I will burn
Not it.
for the Federation as my determination, then use presence and command.
Okay.
I think she was left outside so she didn't spill the beans.
Natala could probably help with this, I think,
Yep,
because
I think so.
yeah, that would be a good idea.
So I should assist.
Yeah, oh, well done. Nice. So, Andrews.
None of my folks I work on this. So I use determination. And let's see where the veteran perk fires.
Okay, roll.
Nope.
That's a no, but you do manage to pull off the, yeah, you put on your best diplomatic faces and approach Joe with the offer to not only help organize it, but to also introduce a little bit of a difference to it, and he seems completely sold on the idea. Oh, thank you very much. It's nice to see you guys are now taking part. Thank you very much. This will be something to remember, I'm sure. So, yeah. Sold. So this, of course, will require folks to hang around for a little bitty bit in order to try and get as many people as possible to bring all their food dishes in. So that side of things has worked.
Yeah, what I'm thinking as well is potentially it would also allow us to try and start to do what we were discussing earlier of trying to find the potential person that's subconsciously transmitting the thoughts of staying here.
Okay, how do you propose to do that? So you're going to need one team to probably stay back here and start trying to stealthily lace the foods that are coming in with the enzyme.
Well, the competition aspect I suggested allows for people to be taking their turns trying things, and basically it allows people to isolate themselves, which would possibly be a good environment for testing people if we can figure out a method.
Ooh,
Go on.
I've got something that would actually help with the lacing as well.
Yar.
We bring down some new sources that have come latest trend straight out of Mars. Best chili sauce this side of Utopia Planitia.
Which would give Vipers an excuse to beam back down again, bringing cases of quote end quote sauce.
So that, or
pretty much.
Or we look to the barman to start supplying drinks, and he can pretty much lace it while you're up there.
We're just gonna basically kill these people with flipping that much flipping enzyme now.
Well,
we got rid of the fish poisoning.
yeah,
but they
different types
died.
of drinks. You probably find something a bit more some of the taste of some of the people here.
Which is
It
fine.
will actually.
Let's pick which favourites would be for the cultures of those that are actually making up the settlers.
Yeah, if the captain is okay with it, it would be a potential to have a very short shore leaving to encourage. But it may come back that there'll be repercussions of doing that. Because effectively we are encouraging to have a party in the middle of a wartime evacuation.
I think there's the other side of things as well, that we should potentially have a group prepared, ready for some panic.
Yes.
They may end up initiating quite a high amount of panic as it's no longer being repressed.
So what would you like to do then? Specifics.
So we could have our calming influence of the Bravos and Nova, or just on the planet, just be like giving up calming thoughts.
As soon as
Multiple
Nova senses the panic, she's getting panic.
Multiple Bravos and a security team who've come down as waiters. Honest.
Security waiters. Dicky Bow.
Claude's already here, so
We can give him a dick.
let me give you some generic officers then. Let's see, security officer. A couple of those guys. It would make a certain amount of sense then for Nurse Bravo to be on the planet, because then Nurse Bravo could help make sure the enzyme is brought to the surface to be administered. Unless, of course, you think Nurse Bravo should stay. I'm only suggesting.
I think Nurse Bravo would probably. Over Nurse Bravo, we bring Bertram down.
Bring Bertram down if you wanted. Which would you rather?
Yeah, Bertram knows how to party.
All right
And
then.
again, we're talking about Mars.
Have you heard about what? Have you heard about the baby mosses?
No, but seriously, we're going to be doling out doses of enzyme to people of different backgrounds and cultures.
Right, yeah,
I
of
think
course.
possibly having
We've
more
got
medical
no
sense
idea
now.
on dose rates, etc. So Bertram would actually be the better choice because he can kind of like monitor dosing requirements.
Good thinking. Okay. Down with that. Alright, so you've got smallish security team to be around for when and if the enzyme kicks in, and therefore sudden realization and panic potentially ensues. Cool. Security Chief Bravo is still here on planet for obvious reasons, I hope. Vibers, being wheeler-dealer he is, has brought down extra cases of sauce. From Mars, no less.
It sounds so wrong. You just brought some sauce with him.
Which, considering this is a 12-rated show, let's not go any further than that.
It's chili sauce from Mars. I have no idea where you're getting these references from.
Chili sauce from Mars that you purchased from some Orions.
No, that I whipped up on the replicator on the way down, on the way up, because it's full of.
He's not that
Of
direct.
course.
It fell off a truck.
Yeah, half the back of
No,
the
this
truck.
came out.
Sorry.
This came out of a replicator.
A truck in
The alcohol I brought with me, on the other hand,
That's a replicator. in
fell off the
of a truck.
back of Oberth.
Things fall off of O-berths all the time, so that's not suspicious at all. So, John, what was the idea with the trying to use the competition to isolate people that you were positing?
If we need to test people to see their responses to different things, and also to see their response at the moment when they get the enzyme, then if people get their first taste of the first dose of the enzyme from like a specific plateau, we can see who gets it when, and we can monitor their responses. Whereas if we just dole it out over the course of a party, we're going to lose track of people's responses as and when.
Right, so you carefully want to administer it to people one at a time, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
417 people.
Well, it can be multiple lines, but if we have we limit the number of places where they're getting it. So say that there's...
Form an orderly queue.
Yeah, people forming orderly queues, plural, to everyone come up and taste the dish from Beta Z. Everyone come up and taste, you know.
Interesting.
And we all watch for when they try the specific ones that are dosed.
So you are dosing specific trays. Okay. So the question now becomes, who is going to make the test to dose a specific set of foodstuffs without being noticed?
Well, that's the thing. We could make an entry. We could say, oh, and here's a couple of our own ones.
So it
we're
just
not
comes in on
dosing
the
them in
stuff.
front of them. It's come down in the transporter.
It's a
Right.
special sauce that we're
Pre-made.
adding into our...
Cool, cool. All right then.
Here's the one we made earlier.
Nice.
Special
I like it.
spices.
Okay. Okay. With that in mind, let's think. I mean, you've already discovered the enzyme, got a ship to replicate the enzyme, and you want to give a cover, which you've already discussed, so there's not really a point in giving you a task to complete or to roll against there, so it just becomes a case of administering it over the course of the night, so let's get to the party. If I can get this to play.
It's not a party. Because if it's a party, it means that we get reprimanded.
It's
so?
a work do.
It's an official cultural
yeah.
event.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think it's a work do.
yeah, it's a work do.
It's not a work
Office
do. You're not
party.
allowed to call it a work do.
Office
It's not an
party.
office party. We're not allowed to do parties. It's a working lunch.
It's a working lunch with wine.
And cheese.
Hey, it got through court.
Yeah, and party hats.
And
I thought that's where we were going, yes.
Oh no, wait, not that we're being cynical about the British government during COVID. No.
I'll let that just hang silently in the air for a little longer. There we go. Okay, so this operation of yours, pretty well thought out, so you've gone about it in a very systematic manner, which I like. So this basically goes off without a hitch. You bring in your special tray of food to make sure everybody has a try. And yeah, you start dosing the populace, couple at a time. Colin Joe, of course, being the first to try anything because, you know, he's the head of the village, so he is the one who kind of sees it as his duty to sample things first. So he's more than happy to step up. And yeah, samples it, and Dr. Bertram surreptitiously is walking around trying to do a bit of quiet tricorder scanning. So it takes about, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes after the lines are brought in and people start actually eating the stuff. And that's when those who are keeping a close eye notice that Colin Joe, who's now sat down at a table and is eating various things, he's there enthusiastically eating, having a chat with some of his neighbors, and he starts to slow down. And those who are observing him very closely, which I have no doubt you guys are, see him start to do that. You know that way that your eyes start darting around as your brain is whirring. You're not looking at anything specifically, but your brain is suddenly very active, and you're considering things, and the way your eyes just kind of dart here and there as pieces are starting to fall into place.
I think at that point there'll be someone, probably Natala, is advised to.
Yeah, Natala's going to be there as a quiet voice in his ear, just kind of got to keep everybody calm so that we can get everybody prepared to evacuate in good time once everyone's ready to leave after the party.
And Zhao just kind of slowly turns and looks at Natala, and she can see the realization there in his eyes. And he just kind of, still with a semi-mouthful of food, he slowly nods and just goes back to eating. But he's doing it now a lot more carefully because he's paying less attention to what he's eating, and he's keeping an eye on the rest of his people. Sure enough, one by one, the folks that got dosed, folks can see them start to, they cock their heads quizzically sideways as they suddenly come into the realization of what you guys have been saying all along, and this starts to slowly ripple outwards.
Is there any that have been dosed that aren't reacting?
No. Everyone that you've been dosed, and everyone that you have dosed, is having the same reaction. You can see that they're all coming slowly to the realization that, oh my god, we're in danger. We're in actual danger.
The question will then fall to asking Zhao whether he would be, if there are people that refuse to eat the fish, whether he would be adverse to a aerosolized version being released into the area, and making sure that everyone is here as well.
Zhao just kind of puts his cutlery down and turns to Andrews, trying to give him the body language of, we're just having a chat here, just a bit of a social talk. And he's like, do whatever it is you think you gotta do.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
Lachude, did you hear that?
Yeah. Andrew Solitude, go.
But of course, before you do, I have to check the numbers. I have to make sure everybody's here.
Is there anyone who you don't see having eaten?
Let me check. I'm going to have to walk around and have a look. And Joe gets up and starts to walk around the place. I'm not going to actually make him do it because this place is supposed to be a lot larger than this building map here suggests, but he's looking around. He's just saying hello to folks, and those who are making showing signs of coming down off of the protein, he's giving reassuring pats to and giving them a little whisper in their ear, trying to keep people calm. The telepaths and empaths, the betazoids, is Nova staying outside during all of this?
Yeah, but she'd probably been checking people mentally as they walk past her together.
Yeah. So, go on, sorry.
Reaching out. And just constantly reaching out and checking for signs of, I suppose, comfort and wanting to stay. Or suspicion.
She will find the There's no overriding desire to stay that she can sense unless they're actively confronted with the notion of leaving. Nova will have found when they were interviewing some of the various villagers. Start of things. So they've all been very happy. You know, it's the fish fry. Folks look forward to this. So the mood for pretty much everyone as they've been coming in to the main hall has been one of, you know, friendly optimism, because they get to sit around, eat and chat as they do. But even from outside, as the time has worn on, Nova is starting to feel the overall ambience, the emotional ambience is starting to shift. As there's a lot of people suddenly coming to the horrid realization that, you know, pretty much what you've been saying all along. These guys, you're in the line of fire. You need to leave. So there's a growing sense of anxiety that's starting to build.
Yeah, so I suppose at that point it switched to trying to pick out the odd one or two that aren't.
And that's, yeah, the ones that aren't kind of trailing behind at the back of the queues, and are the ones that are the last ones to sit, as it were, because those were the last ones to actually have anything. Can I get... So, Nova, in order to get a visual fix on these people, will need to get inside the hall. So as she does, yeah, you can feel that, you know, most of these guys are feeling anxious, but she can, Nova can feel the still steady optimism of those who have yet to succumb. It's almost like their aura shifts colours gradually from something more optimistic and happy, like a happy orange or a yellow or something like that, if you want to think of it in visual terms. And as they start coming down off of the protein, and they start coming into the realization that they are in fact in danger, it starts hinging more towards the red. So it's like you can see the colour shifting gradually to another hue.
I want a happy orange now.
All oranges. I am going to ask Bravo and Nova to both give me those insight and command checks that they use for their empathic and telepathic abilities. Both of them separate, both at a difficulty that I will keep to myself. There we are, a happy orange. I've just seen the image just appear on Discord. So, Jan, could you be Bravo again, please?
Sure.
Since you don't have Thazanan here on the planet's surface.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a determination in,
Yes.
just because I think Nova's very focused on this.
Yeah.
And the telepathy focus
Yes.
counts.
Yes, indeedly do. Starcross comes in, so twice the discipline score. Cool.
I was like, I will get this.
I could this.
Well, yeah, essentially, I get what Shaun was getting at. You know, she's now trying to pick out a different colour from a riot of similar colours. A riot's more like a blanket of similar colours. You're trying to pick out that one square in the quilt that's a different colour. 3 successes, nice. And 2 successes from Bravo. Okie dokie, okie dokie, okie dokie. Ooh, that was a 19. That was a close one. Alright. Okay. As Bravo, Bravo not being an empath is getting more the general... It's almost like the feeling of imagery on the things that occupy people's minds. How best to try and get this out. People's immediate thoughts are always at the forefront of their minds, so Bravo can get like snatches of pictures or images or whatever of what they're thinking about and what kind of things they're focusing on. And of course, just as Nova is feeling the emotional tone shift, Bravo is seeing the mental imagery that people are focusing on shift from just being around, being sociable, being amongst friends. That they're starting to now concentrate on the idea of images of Klingons suddenly beaming down en masse and destruction and stuff like that. Although, as folks are going around telling people to be calm, Joe included, the intensity of those images are being... People are drawing on their own inner reserves, their discipline, their inner willpower to try and stop the outward show. But there's one in this room that stands out from everybody else. Her color, the color of her emotional aura, is entirely different from the rest. But it is turning to a definite deeper hue of anxious red, and according to Bravo's telepathy, the images that are occupying her specific thoughts at this point are she's noticing people's change. And both Bravo and Nova focus in on Jun. She's just been quietly sitting in the corner with a plate on her lap, but she's been just talking to people nearby. She's paid no attention to her food whatsoever. She's been enjoying talking to folks. But she's come to the sudden realization that things are changing. And as both Bravo and Nova look in her direction, they can see that she's looking frantically from one face to the next. And she's growing increasingly more frightened at the fact that she's noticing people's moods shift.
Bravo and Nova kind of like subtly pointing around.
Possibly, but I think Nova would probably be more focused on going over there and acting like a bigger sister.
Yeah, this is the thing. I was thinking exactly the same, because she does have trauma. Her dad did say that she had trauma, so Andrews would be assisting if Nova goes over.
Yeah, I think so. Oh.
Alrighty. So yeah, the one of the nearby villagers that she was talking to, like they can, Jen, are you all right? And as soon as Nova and Andrews turn up, she kind of like jerks, like she's just been shocked by Andrews and Nova's arrival. She was so focused on everybody else, and she just looks at both Nova and Andrews, and for a moment she just her eyes just go wide. What have you done? What have you done? What have you done? And she drops her plate with a big smash, which of course drags everybody's attention. And then she screams it out, "What have you done?" At which point, everybody, and I mean everybody suddenly feels this massive pain right in the middle of their foreheads. And everybody, and I do mean everybody, blacks out. Let me find the appropriate whatever here.
The good news about being plugged into the computer. I still record what happened. Yay!
So let's see, who do I want here?
Is that everyone on the ship as well?
You don't know, because...
We're out cold.
Dupe. Who else have we got? Edwards, Claude, Bravo, Bertram. Let's copy you guys, so I got you all, didn't I? Yeah.
Bad orange.
You are scattered about the place, so I'm going to have to bring your tokens in one by one to this new map, so excuse me a moment.
I don't like it how there's the combat music playing.
Where did I put the others? There you are. Bring you close to you, and let's bring you both together towards this bit. Hopefully I've got everybody. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Have I missed somebody? Yes, I have. There's Nova. Excellent.
Oh god, she overpowered Claude. The universe is going to end.
Clark was just feeling sympathetic and
Oh,
like,
yeah, Claude was just like, oh, very well, I'll pretend to sleep. Claude, sleep now.
I thought Claude had just had a really long day.
You find yourselves on the bridge of a small ship. The surroundings are... the dimensions of the surroundings are a little bit strange. They at first are cramped, but the chairs are slightly larger, as are the control panels scattered around. There is the thrum of a ship beneath your feet. The computers and the subsystems appear to be working. You're on a ship, and you don't remember how you got here.
Let's have a look at those control panels and see if I can figure out what ship this is based off
I
it.
was going to say, I was looking at something else. Does it look like the type of trappings that you potentially find of like a Klingon or whatever?
What you do notice is that the LCARS configuration, kind of thing you would find on a civilian ship, but when you try and access it, you know, you get the responses you expect: beep, 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 but the controls don't actually do anything. And when you look at the readouts, you realize the readouts all report the same thing. To the tune of, if I can find my notes, you find an informational Vibers finds an informational screed that is just full of the same word over and over again. Boring. And when Edwards is checking one of the other screens to try and determine the point of origin, all he finds is a control panel that says blah blah science blah.
Oh, this sounds like a Dr. Bertram lecture. Oh, sorry, Doctor.
I'm right here, you know.
Either someone's spirit plate has to say these things, or...
The easiest way to find out is pain.
Nova.
We are potentially still dreaming.
Nova.
yep.
Why did you make this LCARS?
I don't remember.
But the easiest thing to do,
Edwards
first of all,
opens
is...
the ship
yeah.
door on the
So,
bridge.
first of all,
What's
he's
that?
pressing the comm badge and checking to see whether we still have a communique with the Navis.
That's strange, your comm badges aren't there. In fact, you're not wearing Starfleet uniforms anymore. You're actually wearing civilian clothing. Which doesn't seem right, because you could have sworn you were in Starfleet. Or were you?
Oh, God. You have a horrible feeling that we might be on board a suppressed memory.
Mm-hmm.
Natala and Edwards, as they both exit the bridge, they see a long corridor before them, and just as you do, out from underneath what looks like that mess table, you see a small form suddenly leap from under it, smack the buttons on a keypad, open the door, and then it shuts again.
Start looking for signs of battles. Say phaser burns on walls, anything.
I don't think it's
damaged.
happened yet.
No.
Commander, how did her parents die again?
Attacked by Klingons, wasn't it? Or attacked by someone.
Morsicans.
Nausicaans, yeah.
Nausicaans, sorry. Put Klingons on the brain today, I don't know why.
You should see somebody about that.
But if it hadn't happened, why wouldn't she be hiding under the desk?
Because she's suppressing a memory, or she's bored. She was playing games.
There is a sharp banging sound from this side of the ship, which looks like where the outer docking port is.
Right, okay, so
Bam.
if this is the assault point,
Bam.
I think it's time to hide.
or no, you go searching. We'll Claw, myself, Bravo will attempt to try and hold the Nausicaans off for as long as possible.
Nova,
Yeah,
we need you to
so-
search.
Is this
Well,
a
Another one
Hodor
can
moment?
think like them.
Is this a Hodor moment?
Hodor! Yep, totally a Hodor moment.
Can I sense her anywhere?
Ooh.
Like fear or
I imagine.
I'm going to ask you to make that usual empathic roll, please, if you could.
already?
And I'm not telling you the difficulty because I'm keeping that to myself.
Do you want to keep your momentum for your fight?
Nah.
Use it up.
I'll steal the momentum as well. Don't want to throw anything in there. What? No, I've got 3. What about?
Nice.
Go. So that'd be 3 successes here.
Cool. There's definitely an overwhelming sense of fear going on, and it seems to be emanating from the door that just opened and closed. Natala looks in and goes in. There's the sound of what appears to be a child sobbing. You're not sure where it's coming from. It's, despite what the image in this displays, it's rather dark in here. There are lots of places to hide, of course, for a child.
Natala's going to do her best to be not quite nonchalant, but as adult as she can reasonably be for a child in this perspective, to be like a symbol of stability.
She wants to be mum, basically.
Is it possible
Yep, Mom.
to burn a determination on serving Starfleet the family tradition to get my uniform back?
Ooh, I like that. Yes, do it. Using determination because Natala still remembers pretty much who she is, so yeah, concentrates. And then, yes, she finds she's suddenly wearing her Starfleet uniform. Although for some reason the rank is captain. Huh, weird.
And yeah, just to be as reassuring a presence as she can be, to be a sign of safety. And yeah, putting herself between the incoming noises and probable hiding spots.
So Natala zeroes in on underneath this crude civilian-grade biobed and finds that there's a small child in dirty civilian coveralls, the usual type of outfit you would expect from civilian spaces, as it were. But she's got her dark hair kind of down over her face, and her cheeks are dirty with tears. And yeah, it's a much younger Jun. Grab Jun, actually. Give us a better representation. Which is a very jolly tune I'm making, considering the situation. So she finds Jun under there, and Jun just says, "The monsters are coming. We've gotta eat." Bang! Bang!
Are there any weapons?
Ah.
Right, okay. Well, how did Natala, get her uniform back on?
She burnt a determination. Sheer force of will.
What if we tried to change her perception? Because she seems to be the focus of this. So start.
Move things in time, move on from this memory.
Yeah, because at some point, like, her adopted father turns up to save her heroes and the like, so try and make her focus on that side of things rather than this.
Yeah, that might actually be a good way, is tell her that the monsters have gone.
Yeah, monsters come and go.
Yeah.
We carry on.
But family will always come back.
family is here to stop the monsters. It's
Okay.
what family does.
When Nova suggests that, the child Jun looks up at both Nova and Natala, and she suddenly stops sobbing, and her face goes deadly, nastily serious. At which point she goes, "What would you know about family? You're trying to take mine away." At which point she vanishes, I hope. Jump, the door closes and locks. At which point, I'm going to move you guys slightly out of the way, because then large shapes emerge from the doors, for those who are out in the corridors, as a pair of monstrously oversized Nausicans wielding these barbarously, cruelly edged blades just kind of beat down the door. They even go so far as to just put their fist through it and rip it open.
Question: does Commander Andrews actually have a bionic fist?
No.
I was afraid you'd say that. I just thought I'd cut that one off at the pass before we'd be ready to punch.
Why? Just don't go to punch. Just because it's not bionic.
Still trying to fight.
Does Claude want to try and punch the Nausicaan?
Well, I thought it was the three of us were kind of like blocking.
Alrighty.
So,
Yep,
so
yep.
Definitely.
Remember,
Andrew
there
said
is no
the
spoon.
plan is to hold the line.
So, go for it. It's daring and security for a fisticuffs. So.
Oh, advanced hand-to-hand combat training! Yay!
Four successes versus. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Andrews,
Fight
unarmed
for the
combat. Cool. Andrews basically puts her fist into the chest of the Nausicaan, and it's almost like she hit. Let me think of a good analogy. She puts her fist into the chest of the Nausicaan, which was a surprise. And it's almost like she broke through a mannequin made of a hard material, so there's like a hollow interior.
Mm-hmm.
But the Nausicaan didn't appear to feel it at all. And whilst Andrews is there with her fist in his chest, he latches one big mitt on Andrews' arm, trapping her there. Which allows the Nausicaan to draw a dagger and just slash at Andrews' chest, which does draw blood and pain. In fact, the wound is gushing a lot more than it ordinarily should.
Because it's a child's memory. It's a skewed potential of the past. Right, you're gonna have to convince her that we're not trying to break up her family, we're trying to save her life.
Vibers and Edwards, and probably Bertram at this point. Someone can try and help get Natala and Nova out of there, whilst Edwards notices a child standing a bit further down the corridor as she goes into another room.
This is vaguely starting to remind me of a Scooby-Doo episode. I say a Scooby-Doo episode.
All Scooby-Doo episodes. Raggy!
Hey! We're not.
Vibers, this looks like a standard civilian vessel Federation access panel, which means there should, by rights, be a manual override.
Right. Kid's memory, big door, manual override. I'm going to go and reach up to the top of the door frame and see if there's a key.
Ooh, nice. I like that. You find one.
Come on, let's get out of here before she realises doors don't work like that anymore.
The second Nausicaan strides up to Claude. Claude can attempt to smack him if he wants to. But I think you've got a good idea as to how this is going to go.
Yeah, Claw's impervious to daggers.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Bravo. Unless someone else wants to do it.
Claude is like... Claude feels the other Nausicaan draw a blade across him, at which point Claude recoils, and you can... and Andrews and Bravo can see the look of, hang on a second, in his eyes, and he puts his hand to his face where the dagger drew a cut across him, and he looks at blood. And, yeah, Claude doesn't bleed. He's made a rock, he doesn't bleed. Now, Edwards.
There's a change all this time.
You said it's alright to come out?
No, I didn't say that.
Or something in that regard?
It was going to be, we aren't trying to break up your family, we're just trying to get you somewhere safe until other monsters like these have gone.
Liar! You're trying to take away my safe place! At which point she vanishes again. And, yeah, something pushes Edwards into the room. The door slams shut and locks.
Can I try and link up with her on the Betazoid telepath network and just start sharing, I suppose, familial ties? Because obviously she was adopted and orphaned, and the family that she's found rather than the family that she had, and just share that that's what we're about.
Yep, absolutely. You give me another check, the usual check. Meanwhile, can I have Andrews try and see if she can break out of this grip? Does Bravo want to try anything as well at this point? He's basically looking at his you know, the Claude and Andrews getting slowly cut to ribbons.
That's you at the moment.
So yeah, Jan's Bravo for the moment. And Shaun, if you want to do the usual empathic check for Nova. What would Bravo like to do?
Seeing as this is a child's memory, things can be more extreme than usual. I think Bravo will do like a acrobatic dive over Andrews and Claude and sort of kick one of these Nausicans in the face.
Righty. So first things first. Palm Leaf of Peace from the Picassi mission. Once permission when attempting a persuade task in an effort to prevent violence. The character may reduce difficulty. Cool. Alright then. We'll consider that done. So, yeah. Insight and command from Nova.
Do I through my last determination this as well? Yeah, I think so. It's about the empathic orphan and those thoughts and memories.
Yeah. Something very related to Nova. So can I also get Bravo to give me a daring and security check for fight? For fighting? Fight successes. Good lordy too. So let's have a counteraction to that. Right. 2 for Bravo. Cool beans. Punching a Nausicaan. What does the Nausicaan respond with? 1 success. So Bravo does manage to punch a Nausicaan in the face, which will be enough to draw its attention away from Andrews for the moment.
Well, yeah, we'll let Shaun do his bit first.
Yeah, cool. Right, so Nova trying to tap into another Betazoid's mind. What Nova discovers is that even though she saw the apparition, or she could feel the apparition of Jun is somewhere in one of these rooms, like just happened with Edwards. With that many successes, there's like an echo of voices, a lot of them sounding in a telepathic sense, like Jun's, but and all of them are angry at being separated from, well, what she loves most. But underneath it all, there's also a very strong current of fear, and it's emanating from a very specific place. It's at the end of the hall. And that's when you realize the door is just open. Not for Edwards. Edwards is like, guys!
As Nova leads,
Looking for anything you to open the door.
as Nova leads the way down the hall, Natala is probably going to start just out loud to the world at large, anecdotes about relocating parts of her extended family over the years. The way they've moved about, sometimes as a group, sometimes leaving them behind and then joining up with them again.
Alright.
And I'm going to burn my last determination as part of this, is to say that I just, as I was talking to Hannah, Mean's family just moved me down the side. Basically say is that with the determination is that the Federation is what holds the line from the monsters to keep the people safe. If we can't do that for one person, we can't do it for the Federation as a whole.
A very angry apparition of a child appears behind Edwards, and she doesn't look like she's looking for a hug. As many more angry Juns are now appearing from within the various different rooms, and they're all bearing a dagger each. A big, cruelly curved dagger, just like the Nausicans.
I'll actually open
Bravo!
the offer as well then. And like, you're hurting, I understand. If you wish to lash out, you lash out at me, but it won't solve anything. We are trying to help.
And the Nausicans just look on and laugh as they just advance.
Bravo! I need a kid's nursery rhyme from your home. Preferably a lullaby.
Just put it to sleep.
Alternatively, to do another
Because
cross-train
lullabies
focus.
work. They're gone.
Bravo, unfortunately, will be one of those who was close by when Colin Joe explained that Jun was very young when this happened, and therefore she wasn't raised on Beta Z.
She's as clueless as no race.
Yeah.
God, it's going to be human nursery rhymes.
Go to your room, says Natala. And the Natalas on either the Juns on either side then come out looking very angrily at Natala. You're trying to take our room away! But, Nova, there is indeed a small child curled up, practically in fetal position, next to one of the engines, and appears pretty much like you saw Jun the first time, streaked with tears, has got dirt all over her knees and elbows and hands from where she's been crawling under dirty places to hide, and she's just there cowering in the corner, completely engulfed by oily black shadows that are made up almost entirely of her fear. Her fear at basically losing everything and everyone she loves, just like she did here.
I'll probably get down on a knee next to her and start wiping away the oil, explaining how she's picked a great place in an engine and how engines work and how learning at Starfleet brought me closer to a family and safety and something to hold on to. And that's what Starfleet stands for. We're not here to break up families, we're here to to help and protect from danger and create safety and offer that solace and learning and growth.
The other crew members are probably noticing at this point that there's a sudden shortage of angry little girls around the place. And the Nausicaans eventually disappear too. They just kind of become shadows and just get blown away by an unseen, unfelt wind. And as you are walking, those of you who are walking down the corridors and those of you at the bridge end of things, you get translucent echoes of a man and a woman and a small child who are the man and the woman telling the child to run and hide while they are desperately trying to get a grip on the small, not very powerful weapons that they've got in their hands. And then these massive, towering, shadowy Nausicaans just bored. And whilst the man and the woman try in vain to use their weapons, which they have never had to use before, they use them ineffectually. The Nausicaans just laugh, and with a little girl staring down the corridor from the engineering, trying her best to keep herself from making any noise, she has to watch as the man and woman are basically butchered on the spot. The Nausicaans laughing, and then just going room to room looking for somebody. The little girl is close to screaming when they get close to the door that enters engineering, but the Nausicaans eventually just seem to get bored, turn around, and eventually leave. And so, we come back to Greenpoint Cove. And people are starting to stir. Many of them have got very confused looks on their faces because they've all found themselves either on the floor or slumped across tables, very much in a position they weren't in before. Jun herself is the one who's first awake from everybody, and Colin Zhao is the first to go to her and try and comfort her. After a few moments of consolation, and the fact that you're a bit woozy from whatever it was that happened, Jun looks over at Andrews, Natala, Nova, since they're the ones closest to her. I'm sorry, I love this place. It's the first place that ever felt like home. I didn't know much about my abilities at first. A few months after we came here, I don't know when I noticed it, but no one would ever disagree with me, not even Dad. I figured it was my abilities. I didn't know anything about the fish. I never tried to control or hurt anyone, but then everyone else left, and then you came to take us away, and I did control everyone, and I hurt everyone. Everyone will die because I wouldn't let them leave. I'm sorry.
Did you see that large that kind of like large cloud in the sky? That was the monsters that were coming. We stop. Our ship stopped them. There is still time to go and find safety, but we can't stop around because more monsters are coming. You do not need to apologise for what happened.
Colin, of course, goes to his adoptive daughter and basically echoes the sentiment that you just did. And Jun slowly nods her assent as Colin starts to get up and says, I'm going to need to start getting everybody organized. Any assistance you could give would, of course, be greatly appreciated. Jun will stay with me.
I think we need to evacuate as quickly as possible, Director, so it may be a case of absolute essential only.
Yes, of course. We've got everyone gathered here. I'll make sure everybody understands that. Thank you. Again. And my apologies for I don't know. Come on, John. Let's get everybody together. Needless to say, 417 people is still no small task. However, you now have everybody pretty much on the same page. Everybody has taken the enzyme. Everybody now appears to be very much aware of the situation they're in and are now extremely keen to leave the ship. Leave the village to go to the ship. So, the evacuation can now proceed as you have done before. Shuttles can be called down, and the transporters can be used as well to get as near a constant flow of people coming off the planet as fast as you can get them. So it takes, more than likely, the better part of probably 2 hours or so to get people off. This is a tense 2 hours, of course, because you don't know how long the Klingons will take to receive the message and dispatch forces, if they do. Whether or not there are extra forces in the area, because certainly from what you were led to believe, intelligence didn't believe there were any Klingon scout ships in the area, but that's now been proved to be not entirely true. As for the Klingons themselves, this was interesting because what was the make of ship again? A Hearth-class destroyer is actually an older design of ship that hasn't been seen in very nearly 100 years. For the most part, you guys, as far as Klingon ships are concerned, you're used to seeing birds of prey, D7s, cavort classes, maybe the odd Vorcha, or once in a blue moon there's the Navar class, but the Hearth classes haven't been seen in some time, according to records.
Oh, guys, we just destroyed something that should belong in a museum. We've challenged one of Edward's.
He wasn't on board.
See it or hear it, so.
Oh, you're going to be talking about
Oh, you
it.
heard it. It was on open comms.
It was on open comms.
So, unless
Why
there's
did
anything...
we not manage to escape in time? We had to collect a relic for a museum.
Bits off.
Yeah, we ripped an arm off an alien.
Well, I don't know, you could gather some of the scrap and maybe Edwards... -1 threat. Maybe Edwards could try and piece the Hearth class together in his spare time, who knows?
That conversation isn't worth the candle, currently. Somebody's been practically atomised.
So, yes, the evacuation order goes ahead, and the evacuation efforts themselves proceed as smoothly as they can. People, for the most part, are pretty good at only bringing what they absolutely need to. And so...
Oh, good. No science experiments. Oh, these are absolutely critical for the survival of our people.
No plan. The only thing we will pick up is a nice big bucket of fish.
Yeah, we're going to collect.
Yep.
Like Bertram secretly collects a load of fish and asks Mr. Minoko to put it into all the senior bridge crew's last meals for the next couple of weeks.
Oh
So-
no.
Do you know what?
Oh,
I
that's
really
a
want to
really
start
bad
attending
idea.
boss lectures.
For some reason, I want to recreate what Nova did in the Port Nacelle. It's obviously vitally important in the right thing. Oh dear, I think mine's got laser someone else.
So let's see, everybody returning back to their regular posts. Feel free to do your own characters if I'm being a bit too slow. Let me grab Bertram. So, as you might imagine, the coordination effort required to do this, the Navis crew have done so many times before. It's recently, at least, and it's as soon as the crew kicks into action, it's with practiced efficiency, but at the same time weariness. Thankfully, however, the people of Greenpoint Cove are very affable and likable people, and they go out of their way to be helpful, and they also go out of their way to try and cheer people up, to cheer up the crew, and basically they bring a more positive vibe back onto the ship. So as a result, the trait, the complication trait I noted at the start of this episode, where the crew of the Navis are basically beleaguered, running on empty almost because they haven't had a break in some time, that now dissipates. As the
Did we just rescue Team Morale?
You did indeed rescue Team Morale. Now,
something Vibers would like to do before we leave
It's not
Yes.
collecting fish.
is
That's what
like
I
to
was
take a
doing.
holo recorder down to the pier
okay.
and record the horizon and the view from the pier at the Greenpoint, of course, so that we can put that in the holodeck.
Might I suggest that we integrate that into a new ship's tradition, a monthly fish fry?
Uh-huh.
Fish.
I'll bring the fish if you bring the fry. Now, one thing I did neglect to remember to indicate to you, which I will bring up now, is that Claude and Andrews, who were the two who received wounds during that vision, when you woke up, you found you still had them. Now, obviously, Claude wasn't bleeding, but he did have the gash, which, again, somewhat disturbing. Especially to Claude, who's not used to...
The brain makes it real.
So Claude himself will express, it is possible to
not.
harm a
It's not.
Rourke like himself,
No.
but
No, it's not. You're immortal, Claude.
they're more
Like-
used to, it's more like chipping away at the stone. Literally, you break bits off, rather than he has a gash in them. So it's a type of wound he's not used to getting.
Look,
Neither
we know
would
that
any
you
Rourke.
we know that you bent the universe to make that happen. It's okay. You don't need to lie to us anymore, Claude.
Is that how baby rocks are made? So now a baby Claude running around.
Ordinarily, yes, but in this case, no.
Oh.
So, eventually, all the people on of Greenpoint Cove are successfully brought on, and the Navis speeds off. The ship rendezvous once again with the merchant ship, the Hillstrand, after quite a pleasant 12-hour voyage with your passengers, and those passengers are in the process of being offloaded, and that is when, surprisingly, Lieutenant Bravo, Chief of Security, enters onto the bridge and whispers something to the captain. The captain kind of looks at him askance with a questioning look, but then just kind of nods, and she taps a part of her comm panel. All senior crew to the conference room. So I'm just going to check the conference room a sec to make sure we've already got everybody there. Yeah, cool. So I will also bring in... Do-do. 1, 2, 3. And let's bring you over. Where did I put the extra Bravos? That's the question.
Engineering
where's
Bravo is
the
currently portraying Security Bravo in this scene.
lounge?
All of 10 of them.
No, if
It's
it's
all
the
me,
lounge.
me.
Oh, can we change his token to Hugo Weaving? That'd be amazing.
One
No,
day.
Doctor, that was how Greg is now complaining about the RSI he's getting, constantly having to beam up people, and he's desperately asking for some shore leave.
Where did the other one go?
Ah,
There
all
it
the
is.
Bravos.
So
That
yes,
Bravo.
when everybody gets into the conference room, they find that four of the other Bravo quintuplets are already there, and of course, crew, Chief of Security, accompanies the rest of you in from many from those who came from the bridge. And they all look pretty serious. And it's, of course, Okru, Chief of Security, that speaks up. He has a short conference with his brothers, not verbally, of course. You can see they're all having some kind of telepathic conference, which, of course, takes very little time before he turns around and addresses you all verbally. Thank you very much for coming. I know this is not exactly standard procedure, but we've called you here because there's something we need you to do for us and for Jun. And please understand, this is something that's not easy for us Betazoids, those of us who've been brought up on Beta Z anyway. And Bravo looks at Nova at this. It's not easy for us to talk about, because it's not something that's widely known. Therefore, I must ask that whatever's mentioned here in this room has to stay here in this room.
I'll put my comm badge down on the table.
The captain follows suit. This is going to be prefaced with something, so I'm going to beg your indulgence. A very long time ago, so the history books say, Betazoids figured out that the conflicts rife with most early humanoid cultures was self-defeating. I'd like you to consider for a second what it must be like for a telepath like myself to be a security chief. I feel other people's pain. I sense other people's thoughts. I can barely describe it, but the closest I can approximate in terms you would understand is I also sense the sinking feeling of when somebody becomes unconscious. It's like descending into deep water and feeling it get gradually darker. I have had the unfortunate event of being present for somebody's death on a couple of occasions, and that just defies description for a telepath to describe to non-telepaths. So I hope in that regard this will give you a better appreciation for what it takes for me as a Betazoid telepath to have had to have considered when I applied for the role of a member of security. I don't think I would have lasted as long as I did at the role if it wasn't for having such a great teacher. He looks at Andrews in regards to this. But also, it also, in no small part, I have to give credit to my brothers. Because it's their strength combined that helps me helps me shoulder the load of my experiences. Indeed, we've had to come up with a form of hypnosis for me to undergo every time I am put on alert in order to do my duties as a security officer, certainly before any away team mission, almost definitely when a red alert is sounded. It's a short communion that goes on between my brothers and I, where they kind of hypnotize me almost into being able to compartmentalize my telepathic abilities so that the effect is blunted somewhat. I don't think I could have lasted as long in this role as I have without my brothers being present on the same ship. We all shoulder this burden. It's not just me. So with that preface in mind, I'd like to take you back to the first point I made about why Betazoids found it to be self-defeating to engage in any of the inter-clan or inter-family aggressive actions that primitive humanoids underwent in most of our histories. The history books will say, and quite logically, that Betazoids fighting Betazoids meant that everybody on both sides of a disagreement felt each other's pain. And that just drove it home that it wasn't worth doing. And so ever since, Betazoids have been an inherently peaceful species because we didn't see how conflict could gain us anything except pain and suffering. That's what the history books say. And I'm going to trust you all now with something that the history books don't say because we don't teach it to outsiders. There was a time in Betazoid history where we did actually fight. And it was during those times when conflicts did occur that a certain type of technique was developed by telepaths and empaths alike, where we found that we could kill people with a thought. We could trap them in memories or create hallucinations. We could make them relive their worst memories. We could make them endure nightmares to the point where anything that happened within that illusion would be believed by the body. The mind would translate the death of the mind into the death of the body, and it was a technique that was held onto by a select few. But it became politically advantageous, and so knowledge of this was spread until eventually there were entire sects of Betazoid warriors who were trained in the ability to kill with our telepathic or empathic powers. And it was when this became so prevalent and so destructive, it was like a pandemic. We all realized where this was going and ultimately where it would lead, and it was shocking enough in its prevalence that we all agreed then and there that this was something we should never engage in ever again. It was our responsibility to make sure that this kind of thing was guarded against, and that telepaths and empaths were taught the classic Betazoid means of how to deal with these gifts, this terrible, terrible burden that we all carry. And unfortunately, it seems that the girl Jun has unknowingly managed to access this ability. Now, whether it was because of her trauma or because maybe the greenfin fish unlocked something or made her more powerful, I don't know. We don't know. But due to recent events that this crew have gone through, with there being rogue elements potentially within Starfleet, with career-minded admirals, with changeling spies within the Federation. If knowledge of this got out, that betazoids, empaths, telepaths, whatever, were capable of weaponizing our abilities, every betazoid would become a kidnapping target. Every betazoid would become a potential lab rat, an experiment. Every betazoid would become a career-minded admiral's dream at being able to create the perfect spy and the perfect assassin. Sirs, I'm going to ask you, my brothers and I are going to ask you to please leave out in your reports what Jun did. Make something up, put it down to an after effect of the enzyme breaking down the protein. And we're also going to ask you to please allow us to have Jun and her father transported to Beta Z immediately, so that Jun can receive the proper training she needs in order to ensure that she can control her gift, and to realize that what she's done cannot be inflicted on other minds again. It's asking a lot, I know, but...
Oh, good. For a minute there, I thought you were going to tell us we'd have to kill her.
No.
Don't worry, Lieutenant. There's a lot of things that don't go in the official reports. Glances over at Nova.
I don't know what you mean. I always put everything in my reports.
Into
Yes,
your report, yes.
you do.
You know how long it takes to filter those?
You only
Now-
have to do it once, Fibers.
As
I
far
haven't
as
finished yet.
Jun to Beta Z, is there a specific law that she's broken, hidden in this secret, or?
No, not as such, no. It's more like she's broken a taboo. But obviously the ramifications of this ability that she's manifested by accident, or it suddenly occurred to her to use, she needs to learn that it's like a child picking up a gun. They need to learn what it can do and why it's bad and why they need to not do it, basically. I have no doubt
She
June
and
didn't
her
mean to,
adopted
but...
father.
Sorry, I talked over you there, John.
Are both she and her adopted father already in agreement?
We were going to ask them about that, but we needed to be sure that it was alright with the captain, with all of you, that we need to find a way of getting them to Betazoid. They can't get on that shuttle, they can't get on that transport with the rest of the refugees. They have to be singled out and sent on a different transport that's going straight to Betazoid.
Well, I
Kind of
think
goes against what I told her would happen.
I know.
but if it's
Andrews.
explained to her that it's a... Sorry, Commander, you first.
No, you first, Commander. I'll go on after.
If it's explained to her that we are looking after her best interests, which we are by doing this, she will also have a place where she can learn to become herself.
Absolutely.
There will be people there that can help her directly. There's only so much that we as the crew of the Navis or people that she's lived with can actually offer. But to be in your own place is that Nova, you two, that may actually be an interesting thing, is that we're going to, we need to divert to Beta Z because our operations chief has requested some shore leave. We thought it would be beneficial to deliver her ourselves because we know what you're like, Nova.
It also gives the possibility that the team that would be training would be... There might be other options. They might be able to come aboard and settle with the rest where they go for a while or something similar, rather than her being.
I think you'd have difficulty explaining it to her because I shared memories of my own experiences with her to calm her down. So she's aware that you don't need to be on Betazoid to learn to control and use your abilities.
True.
So tutors from Beta Z joining the new colony would probably be a better option than separating her if we could manage that.
At the end of the day, we make the choice hers. That's one stipulation I make. If she wishes to go to Beta Z, then she goes to Beta Z. If she doesn't wish to go there, then you as the Beta Zs will have to speak with your government to arrange what's best. But the decision should be hers and not someone else's to make.
I've got one question for the Bravos, and I've got an idea for you, Commander. Do you know if she has any extended family on Beta?
We don't, but we could always find out.
Have a look, because if she's got some extended family, sending her to school on the homeworld with to meet her extended family that she's never seen, that's kind of keeping our word.
It's an interesting way around it, Commander.
Commander, the other thing I was going to suggest was, I'm sure the Carpathia's due for a refit. And it just so happens, I think there's a yard in Beta Z that's got the time to get the work done. Because I'm not equipped for full starship.
We could always bring the remnants of the Californian back out of scrap.
Wow, I didn't realise you'd scrapped it. I thought you'd just given it to someone else. No, okay.
That many scratches.
I think it's been mothballed. Oh, yeah, under that, yeah. It's got that many
No.
scratches on it, no one wants it.
It got picked up by the Prime Directive for Scrap Management Police.
Oh, at least it didn't go on any
We
of
left
those.
it on a primitive planet, we can't do that.
I thought you said it was being given to a primitive intrepid class. Good to know that's not the case.
Oh dear, it doesn't stop, does
I
it?
don't
Okay.
know, I did drop it off on the starbase for repair, so it might show up.
Okay. The captain, of course, is fine with whatever the consensus appears to be, so...
She's the one that gets to blame if it all goes wrong.
Pretty much. But the idea seems to be give Jun the option of either going with her former neighbours, or maybe seeing if she's got extended family that she could visit while she's there on Betazoid. Beta Z. Anybody else got any ideas or thoughts they want to share on this? I will take that as a no.
Is
Oh, go on.
there a starship intake program?
Is there a starship intake?
Like program for like apprenticeships?
Probably.
Starfleet, not Starship.
There are several. There's, yeah, I'm sure the Motion Service has one as well as the.
Are we thinking of taking Jun and her father on board the ship?
Well, just offering her that as a future.
Yeah, we can have that as potential as well.
So if she trains hard and studies hard, she could end up a member of the crew at some point in the future.
But that also means that she's getting the influence from the Beta Zs on board, and she's still seeing the. Well, it's not really freedom because we're.
But you're giving
I
her
also
something
imagine,
to strive for.
Yeah.
yeah, but I
I
imagine
reason
if
to go
there's
and learn
a,
to control it is more what I was thinking.
if there is a specific taboo that they've broken, there's a strong possibility that the Betazoid government have people for this. It's just a question of how many of them would want to go where she goes, regardless of what she chooses.
The Bravos confess that they don't know the answer to this because this kind of thing hasn't happened in a very long time.
But I'm sure we can figure out a amicable solution.
Nah, it's fine. It's Beta Z diplomatic crisis. The diplomatic corps can deal with it. That's
It's
how it
just
works,
itself.
isn't it?
Nova was involved in, so they just instantly file it up.
We do still have the contact from last time if you needed it.
Which contact are you referring to, sorry?
Whoever we handed over one of the previous problems to the diplomatic corps to.
That was a while ago, wasn't it?
That was Tannenbaum, wasn't
We've
it?
got their com code.
Something like that.
Oh, flip, it probably was, wasn't it? Yeah, we don't have that contact anymore.
they've got a permanent out of office. This person has left the diplomatic corps. If you're calling on behalf of the USS Navis, do one. Love the diplomatic corps. Kiss, kiss.
Okay, anything else anybody wants to put onto the table before we summarize the events of what happened next? Nope.
No, but does Beta Z have any good alcohol?
I have no idea about America does.
The Bravos pipe up with, yeah, we do, but you don't get all that much in the way of ale houses as such on Betazoid, because when one gets drunk, the others can just feed off of that one's inebriation, and it just kind of ripples out like that.
It's fine. Vibus has got a couple of contacts. I'm pretty sure we'll find a bar.
No comment. So, consequences.
Consequences.
So, it seems to me that the overall consensus appears to be that give Jun the choice of going Betazoid or with her neighbours, and deal with whichever choice is made. Yes?
Yes. The only addition to that is we make it an informed choice. She gets told why they want to suggest. Cut down and read and explain sensibly for her age, rather than this could be the end of the world scenario. But
yeah. And the 5 Bravos are more than happy to, say that they'll they'll help inform her as to what she can expect. Okay. Jun, unsurprisingly, chooses familiarity over what she doesn't know, especially with the fact that she's now moving away from her home. She would rather stick with her neighbours. As a result, the Bravos send out a diplomatic request to Betazoid to meet, just to send representatives out to meet with both Jun and Colin when they eventually get delivered by the Hillstrand to wherever it is they're going to be going. The Bravos also say that thanks to I think Viber's suggesting it, they will reach out to the Betazoid government to insist that they try and track down if Jun has got any biological relatives that could maybe be sent along with this this cadre of Betazoids, so that she at least has got someone who has got a direct blood link to her to try and soften the blow a little bit. Jun, to her credit, she is young, but she's not so young that she needs the whole thing watering down for her. She realizes that she did a bad thing and that she hurt people, and the fact that she could get training by proper Betazoids to help her go through her adolescence and the formation of her powers, Colin Joe at the very least thinks is a really good idea, because you know, she could finally learn what she can do and how to use it properly, and she could help people that way. Colin, of course, promises that he'll be with Jun the entire time, so he's going to officially resign his post as head of their little village so that he can stay with Jun wherever it is that she and he end up going. And as for the offer of maybe one day finding their way onto the Navis, one or both of them, Jun thanks Nova especially for that, and thanks Nova for sharing with her, you know, glimpses of her life. She sees that, you know, they've both lost people and they've both grown up somewhere other than Betazide, so there's a strong kinship there. But for the moment, it is tinged with more than a little bit of guilt over what she did. But she's being given nothing but love and understanding from not only her foster father, but also from the other folks from Greenpoint Cove who know her very well. So you reckon it's a strong probability that she'll be okay. And the Bravos assure everybody that, you know, Betazoids are some of the most understanding people around because, you know, obviously they can feel what you feel and see what you think. So they will definitely do their best to help Jun. Okay, and that's pretty
why you
much.
Always win at cards. Cheating security chief.
And yeah, that and to that end, Bravo did say, "I did warn you not to bring a Betazoid to a poker table." Commander.
Doesn't help. I'm plugged into the computer. Thanks, Commander Vibers.
I have no idea what you're on about. Hides a little projector that he's been wearing on the side during poker games.
Oh, dearie me.
By the way, that 3 of Hearts is really suspicious because I already know that Nova's got it, so you're kind of cheating there.
This is why I play every hand blind.
Nice. Natala's like, right, probabilities. These are the cards that are down.
That the Commander Vibers is accusing me of cheating. Of all the people
Now,
to accuse me of cheating, it's you, Commander.
Now, the really clever one is you look at your hand at the time, there is no 3 of Hearts there.
I was going to say, Nova looks at her hand and she's like, I've got a 5 and a 7, what are you talking about?
Good to know that Nova's honest at cards. So Nova, we've got any 3s? Yes! Good.
And that brings us to
No,
what
but
happened.
it's
Rather
not-
than...
Go fish!
I was going to say... Ironically enough, the game they decide to play is Go Fish. Later that night. And that brings us to the end of tonight's episode. Only a couple of minutes early, but there we go. So, yes. So unless there's anything folks would like to specify that they do. So long and thanks for all the fish. Yes, indeed. Thanks, suitable substrate. There was indeed a lot of fish this episode.
There's a part of Andrews that is now like tempted to see whether the kind of mental blocks that she has, the Bravos could help with working on, but not at this moment in time.
Yeah, well, I mean, Nova was certainly training herself to break through people's blocks with Admiral Stoker, if I recall. So, so the reverse could probably be true.
Now there's enhanced mission play. Done.
So, yeah, unless there's anything anybody wants to add. Cool. Then, yes, this is the end of one episode, so I'll likely dish out the acclaim and the milestones as per usual, probably at some point tomorrow whilst I'm working on the administrative side of this. and we can get back to science experiments at the beginning of the next episode. Now, I am going to bring us to a quick note about dates. Next week is the 2nd, which should be fine to keep on with the 2nd of May. However, the week following that, the 9th of May, I will be unavailable, I am afraid, because I will be elsewhere. So I'm afraid the 9th is going to be off. Plus, after that, I'm starting to think of introducing gaps between episodes, mostly for myself, so that I've got a bit of leeway to keep preparing stuff and give myself a break every now and again, because I don't run just this game, as you know. I also run other Pathfinder games, and now, of course, another Star Trek Adventures game on Sundays as well. So I'm looking to now start introducing periodical breaks for myself, just like one in between the end of an episode. That won't happen immediately, of course, because we'll be starting an episode on the 2nd. There'll be a break in the middle of that episode because I'll be going on holiday somewhere, and then the 16th after that will hopefully conclude that episode, and we will we'll kind of wing it from there. We'll see how we manage, but that's my plan going forward, as long as folks are okay with this.
Good.
Because we've been doing,
No issues.
we've been doing pretty much non-stop. I mean, obviously there've been reasons to cancel every now and then due to reasons that have come up, as inevitably happens. But for my own sanity, I will start to look to introduce breaks between episodes every now and then to give myself a bit of extra breathing room. So I will tell people when those happen, and of course the week of the 9th I will make sure not to put that down so you don't get charged for anything.
What it actually is that, not naming any names, but you're wanting sort of like another ship to try and slowly catch up with us. Because we're too awesome for them. Sorry.
Well, I've been...
It's a very
Not that I watched the stream.
thing to
yeah.
do that.
Not that I watched the stream and heard the comments that were said by their chief engineer.
I've started introducing the same thing to that group too, a break between every episode, so that'll be how I'll mean to try and stop myself from getting burnout, because I do enjoy this immensely, and I don't want this to turn into a thing where, you see it in some GMs, you start to view it as almost a chore, and it robs you of some of the enjoyment, and I don't want that to happen, because I do enjoy these immensely. Your company, of course, makes it that much more entertaining and more enjoyable for me, so I want to keep that, and I don't want it to become rote or part of a routine. I don't want that.
Are you using these breaks to learn about Firefly?
Likely not. I will confess, likely not. Space westerns are all fun and everything, and I did actually see the movie, but I think I tried watching the first episode too of Firefly, right. And I won't pretend it's not a fun romp, but for some reason it just never hooked me as much as it did other people, it seems.
Probably because you watched the second episode first.
You're the only other person
Like
who's
what
had
happened
that
with
kind
TV.
of reaction to it, apart from myself, so thank you.
I will also say that anything by Joss Whedon now kind of has an awkwardness to it. It's like wanting to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer again, but knowing what kind of person Joss Whedon was to the cast and crew. It kind of makes it I don't want to do it anymore kind of thing, even though I kind of do, because I enjoyed it when it was out at the time, and it's...
I've kind of felt that way about him personally for a longer time than most, because I took the character assassination of Chris Carpenter's character in Angel very hard.
Yeah.
And I've never really forgave him for it.
It's a shame.
And so, but because I think I've had longer to get over it than most people, I still enjoyed pretty much everything he made afterwards.
Which is fair
So what you're saying is we just need to wait for the Disney remake.
enough. Well,
Disney remake of Firefly.
Yeah, they own it now.
I got the do, don't they? Yeah.
Yep.
crikey. Wow. Well, on that
Make
note, it
Inara
is...
into a Disney princess, though, doesn't it?
It makes Mel into a Disney princess.
That too.
Well, for the stream's sake, before we get too much into a fanboy chat about stuff like Firefly and whatnot, I won't subject you all to that. So for those of you who tuned into the stream, like Suitable Substrate and others, thank you very much for doing so. And I hope you guys enjoyed this weird little mystery that we brought together for you. With fish. So many fish. And I've just realised I was going to introduce an ending screen that had FIN, fan, on it, but I forgot to do that.
Oh,
Sorry, Gareth.
Didn't
I'm
have
rubbish.
the
I'm sorry. I'll deduct more points off of my threat pool next time. I'm sorry. I should have done that, but I didn't.
Do you know if you hit negative threat, do we start gaining bonus momentum?
It's not happened yet, so we'll have to wait and see. Aye. If I have a particularly bad bout of memory lapse, who knows? Who knows?
I think
But-
if we hit negative threat, we should just let him carry on and then flip it over to positive, just so we've got obstacles.
Oh, it just has an integer overflow and then goes up to like maximum threat.
It goes down to
No, minus
0
one
and hits
goes back to
99.
one, and we can start counting back up.
Who knows
No,
or
I'd love to
dares
see
to
him have
wonder?
9,999 threat and just let you roll a die. It's like, well, I'm going to spend some threat to increase the complication range to 20. Oh dear.
And on that happy note, I would like to thank everybody who tuned in to the stream. You're all awesome, as the guys at Trek Culture would say. And so, in a similar vein, I hope everybody does live long and prosper, and everybody looks after themselves. Further adventures of the USS Navis will continue, but obviously now with some introduced breaks hither and yonabouts, and I will let everybody know about that. Stay tuned to either start playing to see the schedule, or indeed the Twitch schedule as well. I will endeavour to keep us up to date as I possibly can. So, thank you guys for tuning in, and for those who see us on YouTube later on, please give a thought to giving us a like, just so that we can keep promoting actual play videos like this, not to mention Star Trek. Thank you very much, guys, as we draw our hailing frequencies to a close.